What not to do before your audition. Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Taped, which is where I am right now, here in Atlanta, Georgia, one of Atlanta's original audition taping services, which I co-own with my amazingly talented, beautiful wife and best friend, Brooke. There she is. And now on to our topic. What not to do before your audition. Okay, let's set the stage. You're on set, in your cast chair, about to go out to do your first scene of the day. Maybe it's your only scene of the day on this big, full-budget show. Or you're at an in-person callback in the waiting room, waiting for your turn to go in. Or maybe it's a Zoom audition and you're in the virtual waiting room. Or you're at Get Taped, simply waiting to head into your audition. In all of these scenarios, there's a varying level of pressure and anxiety, but there's a common theme with what actors do in those precious few moments before stepping into the performance space. These pretzels are making me thirsty. 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 If you're not a Seinfeld fan, that was actually Kramer's one line that he got in a Woody Allen movie.
And I'm sitting there with Woody, and I turn to him and I go, boy, these pretzels are making me thirsty.
Is that how you're gonna say it?
No, I'm working on it.
Do it like this. These pretzels are making me thirsty.
Oh, these pretzels are making me thirsty.
No, see, that's no good. See, you don't know how to act.
Fun fact, I saw that episode for the very first time in 2003, the night before I was headed to a movie set for the first time where I had only one line myself. How kismet. Anyway, if you resonate with this, not Seinfeld, but the drilling of your lines over and over in the waiting room, then let me caution you. This is a dangerous habit that can and will most likely get you into trouble. And to explain, let me get a little nerdy with some psychology and a sports analogy. If you put that line on repeat in your head over and over again, you think you're helping yourself to memorize it. And you are, but there's a caveat that I'm going to explain. See, you're doing this behavior probably out of nerves, anxiety, or out of a previous scenario where you dropped a line in an audition or a callback or on set or on stage. And so you're never going to let that happen again. So you're going to just drill the lines over and over and over again with those moments that you have leading into this performance. But see, the problem is, yes, you are memorizing, but you're creating a memory that is associated with where you are standing, the posture that you're in. So you might even be sitting, you might even be curled into a ball in a corner of your room or the waiting room of the audition. It's associated with the tone of voice you're using, the pacing that you're using. So if you are just drilling it over and over and over again at the same pace, the same tone, the same emotion, the same volume, the same posture, then the memory itself is attached to all of those conditions. And so, to access that memory, if any of those conditions have changed, it's harder to find that line of dialogue and every subsequent line of dialogue that you memorize the same way. Translation, you step into the performance space and suddenly you can't remember your lines. Why? You just spent all that time drilling the first line. How is it that you can't even remember the first line? A simple test would be to take a sample script or maybe even a monologue that you've never worked on before, memorize the entire script seated, crouched over, maybe staring at your phone with a hunched over posture. Memorize the whole thing until you feel good. Put that phone down, then stand up, put your shoulders back, find a brand new posture, and see how easily you remember those lines. Chances are, even if you're still in the safe space of your bedroom, for instance, you'll have trouble with some of the lines or maybe all of the lines. And certainly, if you were then to walk into a performance space where there's a job on the line and there's a reader standing there or there's a casting director in the room, then there's a very high probability that you will forget some, if not all, of your lines. In short, you're not practicing how you play, which leads me to my sports analogy. I want to use my batting analogy, which I've used before on this channel, because it is so apt in this case. So we're going to take the idea of going over and over that first line of dialogue the same way, with the same intonation, the same pacing, like going to a batting cage with a pitching machine. Sure, you're getting in some good practice, right? But in this analogy, what you're doing is memorizing the speed of the pitching machine, the timing between the pitches, the location of the ball as it crosses the plate, etc. You're creating muscle memory, but only for that one pitch in that one batting cage. The moment you step into the batter's box, i.e. the performance space, everything has changed. The pitcher is now a real person. The speed is unpredictable. The location of the pitch is unpredictable. The timing of the windup, unpredictable. Heck, even the wind, the temperature, the Georgia clay that you might be standing on, the fact that there's a crowd there now, whew, that definitely changes things. Seriously, think about it. Any one of these variables can change things. If the batter was practicing with tennis shoes on AstroTurf in that batting cage, and now they're wearing baseball cleats on that Georgia clay, just that alone could subtly change their mindset, their focus, and it could cause them to miss that pitch because of that subtle change in environment. Or think about this. You stay in the batting cage with the pitching machine, so all of those elements have not changed, but you add in the element of a crowd watching. And that's like being in a Zoom audition where you're in the comfort of your own space. So nothing has changed from rehearsal to performance, except that when you finally get let into that Zoom audition, there's a crowd watching you. My point is, how can that batter expect to replicate that same performance they did in the batting cage when everything has changed after they step into that batter's box? And if they do try to replicate everything they did in that batting cage, well, they're likely going to whiff at every single pitch that gets thrown to them, unless they get really lucky. And you could see how wrong it would be to double down on the next opportunity by going back to the batting cage and just practicing more and more, trying to perfect that one swing with that one pitch. Now, it dawns on me that I should clarify that the batting cage is not useless in this analogy. It's great for working on mechanics of your swing, maybe trying out different types of bats, etc. So hopefully you get the point of the analogy. If you're just hammering that opening line or all of your dialogue over and over again, you're doing it wrong. At the very least, if you must repeat your opening line due to some sort of neuroses, then at the very least, vary up how you are saying that line. Do not rehearse the performance of that line. Play around with crazy character voices. Change the timing. Change the pacing of the line or lines. Do not just repeat how you're going to say it in the performance. By playing around with character voices and different timing and pacing and emotions, you're committing the words further into your long-term memory, but you're not committing the performance to your memory. This leaves you open for play and discovery in the moment once you're in that performance space. But my real advice is to do all of that prep as it relates to your dialogue before you're at that threshold of the performance space. Instead, spend that precious few moments working on your breathing and doing what you can to feel present in this moment. And here's a hint for you Sam Christensen graduates. You were given 40 to 50 or more personalized mantras that can help you immensely with this very thing. They work brilliantly for centering you as you're waiting to cross that threshold. And if you've not taken the Sam Christensen workshop, then you just need to do the work yourself to find your own process. A process that gets you ready for anything when you enter that performance space. You need to be expecting that curveball to happen. For instance, you get into the callback and they say, you know what, let's start with that second scene. Or they say, you know what, we're going to change the opening line to, those pretzels are salty, am I right? Or any number of other unpredictable events that might happen. And this is another reason why your mindset is so important. Take Joe Town's mindset course, or at the very least, get yourself into an improv class. Both of them will help you stop thinking so rigidly about your performances and start enjoying that aspect of play that makes you so darn attractive to work with. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on set.